Hey Ryan, can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
All right, how are you?
I'm well, and
Uh,
yourself?
good, good. I just had the computer that decided to restart just a minute before I went live.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah, so let's chit chat while I just put this together real quick. How was your week?
So far, so good. In the middle of a TypeScript migration for
TypeScript migration, you're going to what, to 4 or something?
no, from JavaScript to any TypeScript really.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a live project or just a personal project?
No, live project. It's for the people I'm working with.
Oh, okay. Wow. You're gonna be in for a surprise, man.
Oh yeah, there's so much red staring at me.
I am sure you're gonna go for a ride. Man,
Mm-hmm.
we should do something like that, at some point. Uh, we should do it here live, take a JavaScript project and convert it
Yeah, that
to
wouldn't be too bad.
TypeScript. Huh?
That wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right, so I think we're already broadcasting on Twitch, Twitter, and I have a secondary YouTube channel that I broadcast to once in a while. And hopefully now, yeah, I'm
There you go.
finally
I could see
showing
you.
up. And we are on air. Let's not forget that guy.
There you go. You're official now.
I'm official. We are on air. Uh oh. Careful, buddy. Very expensive toys that you are playing with here. All right. Let's do this. Good, good. Oh, let me check on the mic. I have a friend of mine like who would kill me if I don't have a good sound because he was the one who set up my sound system. All right. So now live and direct, from and I think I'm too goofy at times. Okay. So come in mic. The audio should be coming from the empty and default. So is the mic better?
Mm-hmm.
Good. And last but not least, if I can find them, these guys. Do you know why I never have my second head set like thing on my?
No, why is that?
Do you have any idea why?
I'm gonna guess probably because your wife and kids might need you.
Yeah, I mean, since they are here, as a parent, I cannot just go totally like noise cancellation because I'm like, okay, if something happens, I need to be aware of it. I kind of need to hear what's going on. So the only time that I can really use them is at the library or I go to a coffee shop or something
Mm-hmm.
where like if the wood was like you know going away around me, I don't care. But in my house, I need to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are almost there. So what were we doing last time? We were talking about
Well, we were
Storybook,
hooking up
Tailwind,
Storybook with Angular and NX.
Angular, and NX. Okay, so let me share my screen to see where we were. Share the screen. Share. We're gonna have this little tunnel effect for a little bit. Okay, and last time, if I remember right, we got to the point where we were seeing this
Tailwind.
guy Tailwind showing like in our project, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to fix that and started like working on the storybook for this project, the email admin that we have on Zeppelin. Okay, and make it start like working on the atomic elements. So what we're gonna do today, I'm gonna try to do a couple labs. First, I'm gonna do the button story. Okay, so we will look at all the possible permutations of the button. The little things like the button hover, the secondary button, the button outlined. You will realize pretty quickly that it's a very demanding, like piece of UI because of all the states and possibilities that it can have. And it makes a lot of sense to just isolate it in a story. That's really what this type of stuff is good for. And then having that level of abstraction for your development team, so your developer never have to deal with all of these things. They can just come and consume the recipe of like what you have cooked for them for the button representation. The second thing that I want to share today is if you follow the Zeppelin workflow, Zeppelin has a style guide that can be associated with your and with your project, and they have like these Tailwind CSS colors. So we want these colors to be the one we're going to be using in our design, because that's what the design team has left us. But at the same time, now we want to be able to have it in the apps of our NX workspace. We want it to be in the libs. So we want to have maybe like one central place where we can control all of this. But if you remember, when we were looking at this the first time, every single instance, like for example, here I'm in the lib of email admin, it will have a Tailwind config. Okay. So you have a Tailwind config JS here, and you will have the same thing in the app, email admin, SRC, whatever, and you will have another Tailwind config JS. So imagine for a project where you might have like 10 apps or like 10 apps, 30 libs, and you have to repeat these styles or these presets all the time. That's just not fun at all. And you are just like, okay, what's going on here? So I'm going to show you to put like to have a central place. Since all we're doing here is having a single point of truth with StoryBook, we will do the same thing with our Tailwind config. We will have a single point of truth, like a global place that can just like feed the other places for things that are global, and then anything that is specific to that lib, which I don't see like what could be, but like the global styles should be taken care of in one place. So if we ever change the theme or anything like that, we can change it. So those are the three things we want to do today. So that's 2 or 3. I don't even remember. So 2 or 3. So we're gonna do the full button story. We're gonna get rid of like our little pal here. This was just to, sorry pal, I really like you, but we gotta get rid of you today. And at the same time, I'm gonna try somehow, some way to manage some of the chat. So if you on Twitter right now, we are live on Twitter, we are live on Twitch. So if you're on Twitter and you want to chat with us, just like I think next time we have to just find a hashtag, so then like anytime somebody like talk to us, we can be notified.
That's not a bad
So
idea.
we still work. Yeah. So we kind of we kind of getting there. So you see like my friend Tonux like put a nice screen capture of us like talking right now. So that's very nice. And there are some people on YouTube, So if I don't respond to you today or right now, just know that it's kind of, we still like getting the logistics done here. So let's go first thing first. we're gonna get rid of, well, we can leave him here. He's all right. He's not doing anything. He's not bothering anybody, you know.
He's being
So
a
we're
good
gonna
dog.
create, yeah. Let's create a new story. Let's just go ahead and create a new story. So let me collapse like the terminal. And what was the command again to create a new storybook? So the thing that I like though, if I don't remember a command, I have the NX console for that, you know.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna fire up the NX console, and what am I gonna try to do? Is that the generate?
Perhaps.
Uh,
That sounds about right.
Perhaps, yeah. So let's do story.
Yay.
Okay, and that will be, so those are storybook configuration, migrate. Okay, so these are more config stuff. So maybe we're not in generate. Let's look here. Maybe they have something around here. Or yeah, I haven't touched the project like in a week or something. So you know, you're as strong as your last project. So what is
Hmm.
it again? NX create storybook. Yep. So all right. So that is when we adding, when we run, that's fine. But when we want to create a new one, that should be at the top.
Is it NXG? Or that's the configuration?
Well, NXG will be just NX generate. And then this is the schematic that comes with it, which is Narwhal React Storybook. And that will be the configuration. That's the thing that creates that storybook folder and then the stuff. So that we already have. If we want to run the storybook, we can run it this way, you know.
Hmm.
Now I want to just create a new story. Well, you know, don't worry. I what is more important is, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We can just do it manually. At this point, we already have the setup and we're not going to lose time on that. So let's go back to the email admin libs, and then the email admin UI. And then in the email admin UI, we already have a lib here, and we do have a hello storybook. So if you remember the way that like Narwhal has it set up, all we have to do for it to pick up our story is just to have something that has the extension of stories, you
Hmm.
know. So that's in the config basically.
Hmm.
So what we're gonna do here in the lib, I'm gonna create a new folder, and I'm gonna call it atoms, you know, to follow like the atomic design principles like atom, molecules, or organism, and so forth and so on. Inside of here, I'm gonna have one that I'm gonna call button.
It was
You
a good
know.
read, by the way. I went home and read the article that the guy put
Oh,
out.
okay. Cool,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
great
Brad
read.
Frost. Yeah, yeah. Pretty solid. Like mental model, and pretty easy mental model to follow. You know.
Hmm.
So I
And a
think
pretty
that is
website to
like
look at the same time. So
exactly.
shout out to
So
him.
if you have no idea what we're talking about, we are talking about the atomic design principle. This was done in 2013, yeah, and we're following like basically this concept of like an atom, a molecule, organism, template, and page. And here you see how by itself a label is an atomic unit, an input, and a button. But now when you put them together, you have the label, the input and the button, and that becomes a molecule. So pretty cool way of like thinking about a design, breaking it down into like the components. Sometimes though, I would advise to avoid getting to the atomic like units like too quickly. Don't over optimize, so try like big chunks. And in these big chunks, if you're repeating something, start going down. But if you start very small, you might have a lot of problems. So yeah, we'll talk about that like as we go. So now we're going to target that. And let's go to our friend NX again here, which is going to generate a button component for us. Okay. So here, let's go to do generate, and then we're going to generate a component. All right. And I like this magic part where we're going to just call it like button, not you there, here, button. Okay. And the name of the project. So it's going to be inside of email admin UI. Okay. And style, I have Tailwind CSS. I don't need a style for now. Okay. And that's let me take that back. We're going to have a lot of styles. Even though we're going to use Tailwind, we're going to have to use some kind of mixing, because it's going to be unmanageable with like all the styles we're going to have, because style for primary, secondary, all those kind of stuff. So let's keep the CSS. Change detection. Yeah, we will not talk about change detection here today. We'll leave the default. Yeah, we want to export it. Yes, I want it to be flat. Do I want inline styles? Yes, I want inline style. I want everything to be like in one file. I don't want to have 4 files or anything like that. Here, I really like the React way of doing things. I don't need 4 different folders or no 4 different files. No. I want to be dealing with one thing. Okay, so I'm going to use inline template. Now for the pass, if I leave it as is, I want it to be able to target my button folder here. So I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to copy the relative path. Okay. And I'm going to put it right here. Now, here I have in the schematic that is being executed, it's going to be inside of libs, email admin UI, src lib, atoms, button component. This is exactly where I want it to be. Okay. And I made sure that I said that I want it to be flat somewhere, so it's not creating another folder inside of it. I think I put flat, yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do flat, look at the structure, how it's going to change. So if I don't do flat now, it's going to be inside of like
Another folder.
Another folder. So be very careful about the structure that you want. Okay. So now that we have that, do we want to prefix? I don't think we prefix. That's going to be our first official component. I think if we don't prefix it, it will prefix it with email admin button. I can live with that. Do we want a selector? Yeah, that's fine. Skip test type component. Okay. View encapsulation, we'll leave it as is right now. We can talk about this view encapsulation if you want to open up for people to be able to add their own CSS on top. But for what we're trying to do here, we're trying to contain our components in a way where, like, it becomes the single source of truth for everybody. So let's just put let this one to be the default.
Yeah, make it simple.
Yeah, so now let's just run this. Yeah, until you run it, nothing happens. I did it before. I did this whole setup, and I went away, and I came back, and I'm like, where's my component? And nothing happened, because if you don't click on run, it's just going to do dry run here. You have to commit, explicitly say it run. Now you see that, like, we have our button component that has been created, and then we have a button component spec file. Okay. So control tilde will like collapse your terminal, and command B will collapse, your navigator. So those are very quick shortcut, but they are very, very, very nice to know and to use. So I'm going to go back to my button component, and let's collapse this. And one thing that I found myself doing a lot lately is I'm pinning now the files, the main file that I'm working on. So I'm just going to pin it here, because what happens is like, and in an NX workspace, you are working, you are going around, you are opening some files in here and there. Before you know, this workspace gets like this, get overpopulated, and you want to come back to your main file. So usually the file that I'm working on and then the file that are helper files, I will pin them to the left, you know. Anytime I need to find them, I just like go back to the left and they are right there.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple things. For now, I don't think I'm gonna. Well, I'll leave the on init alone. I just don't like this wiggly thing at all. I don't like when the code is yelling at me like that. So let's clean this up and let's take this out. Okay, and it's gonna complain about an empty constructor. You know, yeah. That's the magic of having like ESLint. So
You can probably just delete the constructor.
yeah, I could. I don't even really need it really now. So let's just take it out. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use types. I mean, not our good friend Copilot, because sometimes it can be very noisy too. So we're going to build the button, and the button that we're building, we're taking the reference from here. We have a button with like what I will call just a button with some like letter icon, you know, so, you know, and the primary color. We have another button here, but that doesn't have another button here, but it's just an icon only. You know, we have another button, but it's an outline. Let's see. You see here we have an outline where, like, you know, it's just the border. So, and if we go back, I believe in here, we do have a button with a drop down. So we're just looking at all the manifestation of the button, because we want to consolidate, like that becomes our button factory. And I think here we're going to see some buttons with icons. No, so this one is a button with an icon, and I will call it full because it has like the background. And this one is a button with an icon but with outline. So we're gonna try to show some of those permutation as we're building this story, okay?
Okay.
So let's go back here, and what else we're gonna need beside component? So we still, the cool thing though, what I like about this is at the end, this is what I call the ultimate developer handoff. What you're handing off to your developers are going to be an actual Angular component, you know, something that they can just take as is, start like using it, you know, and whatever you define as the binding contract. So we're probably going to need an input to pass in like some type of output for the events. I'm going to go as fast as possible. And we're going to have an on changes. So basically to see if, I don't know, the button can go from disabled to enable. If you can think about a form, everything is disabled until the form is valid, and then it becomes enabled. So you should be able to capture that change, you know. So if we're going to do on change, we're going to go with simple changes too, which is just going to be like okay, so Copilot is telling me we're going to need event emitter. I might be using host binding. Host binding is basically wherever the button is, whatever it's calling it, you know, whatever is that context, that's your host. So that's what Angular is calling like host binding. So those are the things that we're going to need. Now, one thing that I like is, and that I took from React, is having props for my interface. So I'm gonna do export interface button props, okay? All right, so here, what are those props that we're gonna have for the button? So anytime somebody creates a button, what is the model that we're gonna associate with like that button,
Mhm.
So for example, when we want to determine like the color of the button, is that a primary button? Is that a secondary? Is that a tertiary type of button? A lot of people will call it, I don't know, how do they call that again? Should they say button primary? Me, I call it level because
Variant.
yeah, it can be a variant, but variant can be all the things because variant can like host if it's going to be the type, if it's disabled and stuff.
Theme.
You can do team. Let's do level.
Level's fine.
So let's do level and look at Copilot. Giving me levels and then giving me like the autocomplete here. That is pretty cool. Primary, secondary, tertiary, and danger. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So those are the possible values you can pass in for the level. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Now, what's another thing that we need for a button? We need a size. And let's give it a default. So no, you cannot. Can you give a default at the?
Not on the interface level.
No, you cannot do that at the interface level. You can do it at the. Yeah, okay. You cannot do it at the interface level. I think so. Okay, size. Okay, small, medium, large. I like that. So I decided let's use Copilot because I'm a very slow typer. It's gonna make us save some time. As long as like people get the concept, let's do type because a button can be a button, a submit, or a reset. So you see all the permutation of the button. Now we're isolating all that noise inside of this component, and let alone not only the component but the story. So when somebody's gonna import this, they don't have to deal with this part. It's already taken care of for them. So we have type. Now let's see, a button can be enabled or disabled. So it's gonna be a Boolean. What else? Is the button gonna have an icon or not? Okay. So this is gonna like affect the way that we're gonna be styling the button. So let's do icon, and I want to make it optional. And if I have an icon, I don't want to make it a string. I want to make the icon be position, like left, right, or maybe if I just say only. So that's a button that only has an icon. We have transparent. So there's some of it that is live coding because like I have notes around here and stuff like that, but I want it to be as authentic as possible. So okay, what else? Oh, the most important part, the label. We need a label. But the label can be optional if we have an icon only. So let's do label string. And finally, let's add an event on click button. And stay away if possible from like the language, like events, the native events, like on click and stuff like that. If you can namespace yours or kind of give it like a more specific event, that is like something that doesn't exist, or you don't have a collision or anything like that, I will highly advise for it. So we're saying that this interface, basically everything here is optional for the interface. But when we're gonna put the button together, we're gonna have some default. So we just don't have some empty. But this might be, how we will expect, the different things, the different properties that we're gonna expect the attributes to be more precise. that we would expect a button to have. Is that enough, I think, for now? Okay. Ryan, you still here? Hello? Did I lose Ryan?
No, you didn't. I was double muted.
Oh, okay.
Gotta love that.
All right.
But
And
not,
yeah.
yeah, at least good to start with.
All right. Cool, cool. All right. So this is good to start with. The second thing that I've been using like a maniac these days are enums. The concept of just using enums instead of using like hard-coded strings or hard-coded values. Man, you have no idea how much time I'm saving in like, bugs or anything like that. So we're gonna have what I would call like the different classes that we can attach to a button. If you think about Bootstrap, for example, you can have button primary, button secondary, and stuff like that. And people will be like, why are you worrying about that? Aren't you using Tailwind CSS? You will see. Just give me a few minutes and you will see why, like, there's madness, there is how they call it, like this genius in the madness or whatever the right expression is. Okay.
There's a method to
So
the madness.
there you go. There's a method to the madness. Well, when English is your third language, sometimes, man, you get just like, okay. So we're gonna create an enum of a button class. The different like classes that we can attach to a button. And like the enum, basically, we're gonna do default. We can start with the default class, and it's gonna be button. But I don't like button, even though it's very explicit. But I think a lot of people are gonna come from either Bootstrap or any type of other background. They can
Mm-hmm.
see that we are using this. So BTN, and then primary. You see, Copilot is gonna help me out here. Secondary is gonna be button secondary. Tertiary is gonna be button tertiary. And I'm gonna stay there. I really, anytime like I go beyond 3 levels, well, and we have danger too, so I think it's gonna give me danger. So you see how it picked up our levels
Mm-hmm.
and gave us possible classes attached to that. Okay, now, and it keeps on going small. So anything that we have in our button props is gonna come back with that. Medium, okay. Large, okay. What else? For the icons, I want to do a different enum just because of a couple things. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the disable one, and you almost got it. Give me BTN disabled.
So close.
Yeah, and transparent. Give me BTN transparent. Okay, so we got everything but the icon. Okay. All right. I'm almost there, guys. You see how much preparation we are doing, but imagine now in a team of like 10 developers, 20 developers, hundreds of developers, if you have a smaller team of developers who only worry about getting this handoff to your bigger team. So you have about 3, 4, maybe 5 people who only worry about taking your design system, turning it into effective components that your team never have to worry about this. So if somebody start a sprint and sees a button, they're not going to be, oh man, I have to like now think about all the permutation of a button or stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. They're going to have one single source of truth. That's where this is going to pay off. You have a fewer cooks in the kitchen, and the dish is served hot for everybody. Cool. Man, me and my kitchen metaphor today. So
Make
let's
me
do
hungry.
export. Let's do yeah, button icon. You almost had it, but I want to be explicit. Button icon class this time. I like to be very explicit in the naming. At the end of the day, after compile time, it just becomes gibberish. But anytime somebody opens it, as human, it's self-documenting. Okay. So you almost got that, but let's start with icon. So if we have an icon, I1 button icon. If we have a left one, I1 button icon left, right button icon right, and only should be button icon only. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Man, have you ever spent this much time on just like, putting a
Setup.
button together?
Yeah, kind of wacky.
It is.
Like this is the tutorial example. Like, oh, let's make a button component. But then you have two professional engineers. Like, oh, let's give it all the props,
No,
give it
let's
all the
let's let's
classes.
yes, let's just because what we building right now is we're building a factory for this thing. When I say factory, I'm not talking about
Design pattern.
um, the design pattern at all. All I'm saying is like we have a single source of truth for our developers to pick up from here and build. So I know some people who are like, what is he talking about? Why is he talking about a factory? This is not a factory design pattern. I'm not talking about design patterns, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Chill. Let's all chill. Okay, so
Now
now
we
that
can
we
write the
have,
button.
now we can write the button. I'm just looking at my
Okay.
notes and going in a fashion that like it's intuitive. So now that we have the enums, so basically let's recap. We have like the different things that we're gonna need that are gonna be like needed for the button to be like interactive. Let's put it that way. We have a general interface for the attributes that are going to be attached to the button. And then we have defined, just to reduce human error, a couple of enum to attach to the button class for the possible values, and then the button icon class. Okay, so if you're just joining us, that's what we have done so far. Now we're going to go into like creating the actual component. And since we have like an inline template, all the template for the button is going to be right here. Okay, so button hooks. And what is the first thing we can do for the component? Now let's just take like all the properties that we're going to have inside of the button component. Okay, so we're going to have a class list, and that's going to be all the possible classes. Okay, and this actually, I'm going to associate it with a class list. I'm going to associate it with a method called getClass. So we're going to have a specialized method that is just going to put together all the classes. And for now, I'm just going to do class list equals this, that, get class. Okay, so that's the very first thing. This is the classes that we're going to attach to the button. Okay, and we're going to have an icon only variable, and it's going to be button class. Okay, no, button icon class. That's why I separated them. Button icon class. Button icon class. Come on, bear with me. An icon. Okay. So button icon class icon. What else? Now we're gonna put all our inputs. Okay. So we're gonna do input, and then the button. The first one is the label, and that's gonna be. Oh, come on, man! It's a tab. Tab. Okay. Input label, and that's gonna be a string. So with the new TypeScript, one quick thing to talk about here is it's going to say the properly label has no initializer, and it's not definitely assigned in the constructor. So there are like a few ways that you can get rid of this if like those wiggly sign like are killing you. Either you give it a default, you know, So if you give it a default, for example, you can give it a default. It says
Oh, that's just an
type.
ESLint thing.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So either we can do this, either we can do this, or we can say, hey, this is gonna be initiated at, like, before compile time. There's gonna be the value is gonna come. Don't worry about the TypeScript. I know that I'm gonna have a value, and before you compile, you can do it this way, and this is the way that we're gonna put like some of the default. But I want to show you two ways. So if you just do this, I think in the new TypeScript 4, all you have to tell it to kind of chill is just do an exclamation here. And you are explicitly telling it, hey, you know what? This is going to have a value. Don't worry about it. If it's not going to have a value, or you want to have a default value, you do the other way around. So we'll use a bit of both, okay? So for the type, here we're going to do at input. Yeah, so right here, you see the input level, and it's properly typed. It's going to be a button props level, and it's going to be, and we're giving it a default of primary, okay? So let's see if TypeScript is giving us something that makes sense. I mean, like Copilot, we'll take it. And here I want to do size, but I want to do large as my default. Okay. So primary is my default, large is my default. Type button, okay. What else? Disabled false. Icon, I wanna not put icon at all. And all I'm gonna do is, this is optional. How do I make something optional without it yelling at me? Okay, I think it should work. Okay. What else do we have? We have that, and transparent is good. And then for the output event, we have it here, which is going to be on click button, which is going to be a new event emitter. So the event emitter, I think, is this telling us that, hey, okay, let's do on click is going to be either a mouse event or a touch event. Okay, new event emitter. What are you still worried about here? Should not be name on nor prefix visit. Output bindings. Okay, I don't agree with you on that one, TypeScript or ESLint. So I'm just gonna do a quick fix and disable it. All right, I don't agree on that one. All right, so we have now the different inputs that we're gonna get. We have our output that's gonna do that. And then the last thing is we want to be able to put our classes on the button, okay? So that's why we were using host binding, because the reason why we're using host binding here in Angular is that, the button that we're going to use, and this is very important, if we just use like this selector right now, Angular is going to create an email admin button tag for us. And this is kind of going to take away almost the native, like, functionalities that a button can have in HTML. So what we're going to do is instead of using like a tag selector, I'm gonna change this to a button that has the attribute, email. For email admin, let's just call it emad for our little emad button. Okay, we want to be able to use it on a selector that has emad button, or an A tag that has emad button. But you see now that ESLint is yelling at me because ESLint is saying that we should not use like component selectors. That is something that NX has put together. And if we come here, should be kebab case, ESLint. So the quick fix. Let me do it for the entire file. So the thing is, in the config JSON, and that's something that I don't want to spend time on today. There is a way to just say, okay, I want to accept, attributes like, selectors. We're not going to do that today because that's just going to make us derive a little. But I want a semantic button that I can be like using like the attributes, So, and then instead of like doing this P, now here, what I'm going to do button. Okay. And I'm going to put my emad button here. Actually, I don't need to do the thing like that. I just need to do, actually, this is going to be a problem. I remember emad button. I think need to do it that way. And then here, emad button. So basically now, using this attribute, we have said that, okay, this is going to, because at the end of the day, this is how you do directives in Angular. And then a component is only is a directive in Angular that has a view, So that's basically the thing. So now we have the emad button, and then this is where we will put like all our inputs that we need, that we put together a little earlier. So let me see here what I have put in my notes for the inputs. Let's look at this. Okay. All right. So there are two things I'm going to do. Since now I'm using it this way, the developers are going to be able to just put like button and then call the emad button. Now inside of here, if I just want to be like totally safe, I'm just going to use the ng content and project. You see, even like GitHub Copilot is saying, oh, okay, so you're going to need to use content projection. Okay. So whatever is inside the button and stuff like that and the inputs is going to be able to take that. The only thing that I'm going to add here, yes, the only thing that I'm going to add here, I'm going to add a second ng content, but this time around, this ng content is going to have a select, and that select is going to be if we have an icon, okay? So if we have an icon, this is where it's going to come place the icon. And then the way that we're going to be using our classes and everything, we're going to put the icon on the left or the icon on the right or like anything else, okay? So this is like the typical setup. I mean, not a typical setup, but this is the initial setup we have for this button. And that's the longest one we ever going to do. Everything else, I'm going to share with you on GitHub. You can just pick it up and put it in there. So we have a lot of other stuff to do. But I just wanted to show you the pain points of having like, because I lived through a company where this was a real pain point. those little details. And sometimes you have some developers that don't have a strong background in web development, or they were not there for the earlier HTML days and they don't know about these nuances. So, and that's not fair to put it on them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, like, through the pains that I went through just to put a button together. But when I'm putting this button together, I'm thinking about this is going to be reused by the entire company, and should be the single source of truth. That's why we're taking our time. That's why, like, we are like refining it and making it like, this painful right now, but it's going to pay us back like tenfold when we get to the last part of it. Okay. So now we have that, because in here now, anytime like your users, your anywhere in your app where you call button, and you add the attribute emat button, then you're gonna inherit all of these things on top of being able to inherit the native behavior of, like, a semantic button, because it's not gonna add like that Angular selector around it. Okay, cool. So how we doing on time? We started at 1:15.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's
We
say
got a
we have
little bit
about
left.
30. Yeah, we have about, let's say, 20 to 30 minutes max. So let's try to keep them at 1 hour apiece. Okay, so we have that whole setup right now. Let's take care of the get class, because that's gonna be how we're gonna be showing everything. So let me come back to my get class here real quick. And what we're gonna do in get class, okay. So in get class, we're gonna start with a constant here that we're gonna call class list, okay? And the class list is gonna be, let's properly type it. So that's why we are in TypeScript. It's gonna be an array of button class or button icon class. So you see, now we're
Mm-hmm.
using our enums to be like to do safe typing around like the classes that we're gonna be able to accept here.
It's gonna be really nice.
This is very powerful. So, and then by default, we're always gonna give it the button class default, which is BTN. Okay. So I really, really, really like having like this type of type safety, and it's saying like classes assigned. Let's not worry about that because we're going to use it. But this type safety right now, so the pain that we took to create a button class enum and a button icon class, now the mashing of all of that has created some kind of type safety for us on the different type of classes that our button can take. These are
Completely
the little
eliminates an
things, yeah.
entire class of bugs.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing though, because you could have like, most of the time, why is it important? You will see BTTN something, you will see somebody do button, and those
Mm-hmm.
are so hard because intuitively when you look at it, you are like, oh, okay, I don't see anything wrong. But here it will yell at you right away if you don't have any of those classes that are like accepted in your button class or in your button icon class. To me, it's huge.
Agreed.
Now we're gonna now start layering the other classes. If we have a level, okay, we're gonna say push the level. Okay. So if we have a size, very simple if and now if statements here, push the size. Okay. If we have a type, push the type. Why is it yelling at this type? Type has any.
I don't think we have those classes.
We don't have type. So the thing is, we have. Oh, okay. So we have type here. Do we
Mm-hmm.
have type here in the button
I don't
class?
think so.
Oh, okay, I see. So for type,
We're missing reset
mm,
for one.
yes, but for type, I don't think because type is like, so hold on a second. We have type here, and type is it's a button, it's submit or it's reset. We don't need that classes at all. Unless we want to do something different
We can
about
leave
it.
them out for now.
Yeah, we could come back to it. And that's the thing. If we ever need it, that's a great thing. If we go, we do our first sprint, people say, hey, we need to have a special class for type. And we have already an instance of like, our button spread out. We come only on this file and we make that one change and we done. So let's say now we're going to skip type, okay? And let's go with disabled. I think we do have disabled. Of course, you could do this in one line of code or whatever your Ninja JavaScript thingy is. But here we just want to make it very explicit so everybody's able to follow. Okay, so let's not even like go into that. You can always refactor and make it nicer, like tighter, compactor, whatever. If compactor is a is a word. So if it is an icon, we're gonna push two stuff though. If there's an icon, I think because we need to push that it is an icon first. Button class this icon. Hold on. What did we do for icon here? We just said button icon for icon, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here we're saying, okay, so I think we just need to put like we did with the default here. We need to put like button class icon as the default too. And that's the thing. I did not know that push could take more than one argument.
I did not know either.
I did not know that until like just maybe that was last year or a couple years before. So button class, uh, um, no, it's button icon class. What am I talking about? Button icon class icon. So I think we get the gist of it. So we got all of those, and at the end of the day, since that's a class list, we want to return the class list. People are gonna say, "Wow, man, they took a whole hour just to like
I had some
do
classes.
add some classes and put a button together."
But this is the best button
Get
anyone's ever
out
gonna
of
see.
here. No, you know what's funny? I opened up like a React button component, I think one of the official ones. And man, these guys went to town with it.
Mm-hmm.
They had, it was at least, I don't know, at least almost like 200 lines of code just to define the button and all the different stuff. And I'm not doing like any magic here. So I just want to make a space in between because it's going to join the classes. Okay. So I think I think we're finally good with like our setup. Hopefully I did not miss anything. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create, so what's the convention here? If we look at Hello Storybook, we want to do the same thing, Hello Storybook component, that story is that TS, because then NX is going to be able to pick this up. What I could do too is I can say to NX to create a story based on my component. Let's do that. So if we come back to here, NX can, so this is to serve, and auto-generate story right here. So you can do this, and I don't have normal React, I have normal Angular, but I can do this. So let's go back. So right now, at this very moment, I just have a button component, but I don't have a button component story yet, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna paste. I'm gonna paste, let's see, I'm here, there's building, okay, compiled. Let's open the ZSH. Let's do NVM use 16.10. I should do it by default now. Okay, and I'm gonna paste this, but instead of React, I'm gonna do Angular. Okay, and the project name, which is email admin UI. And once again, let me open like our project here. So we should see a new story being added to button component. Do you want to generate size press specs as well? Hell yeah. And then there you go. You see? So now NX has created like the basic of the button for us, which is very good because a slow typer like me, if you were going to watch me like try to go step by step on this. So you see, it has imported like the module metadata from StoryBook Angular. It has already imported and stuff. And now it just has like the title button component. So what I want to do is I want to change this title to atoms. Button.
That's really cool. It also read your props and automatically generated args for it.
Exactly. You see, so if I was to do this step by step, we would be here like, for another. So kudos once again to the NX team and all the cool stuff they're doing for us. Okay. So I'm just going to do atoms button component, Command S. And right now, I should, if I go back to one of my storybook here, let's refresh it. Maybe I need to stop it and restart it. Okay, that's what it is. So let's come back here to one of those that was running storybook. Yeah, that's here. Okay, so let's do a Control C on this. Let's run storybook again. I hate when it does this. Come on, buddy. Work with me. There you go. In the meantime, let's see what's going on Twitter and the other spaces, whatever. Right. Cool. Do we have a few folks on YouTube? And your channel, switch account. Let's go to here. Yeah, man. Okay. And let's go to your channel. And we are live. Cool. All right. So 4400 is up and running. We don't have any. Oh yeah, it's looking for that. And now we have in atoms, we have our button component. And then the button component is not rendering anything, which is normal. Don't panic yet, okay? It is normal, So if we look at like the button and we have the EMAT button and everything like that, now we just need to, we don't have a label. We don't have a primary, a size. We did not put any class or anything yet, okay? But look, your developers, if they wanted to use this button, all they have to do is now just copy this. Look at all the madness that we did, the input, the button props, the enums, all those stuff. They don't have to deal with that. All they have to do is copy this code and they're good to go. So for a label, for example, let's see if it's taking it. Okay. So now in here, the way that Angular or NX has it put together, you remember how I was telling you that what is it called? They did not want like a type, an attribute selector.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're gonna do, instead of like the component here, we're gonna change this. Since we are using like an attribute selector, we're gonna use the template. Okay, so in the template, and I'm gonna do a little trick here. I'm gonna copy this. Okay, and I'm gonna paste it here. Okay, and I'm gonna do that. Let me save this. Did it do it? Okay, I think it did.
You have to go to yeah.
Yeah, canvas, let's refresh. Okay, so now it doesn't do anything because we still don't have a label. Let me put something. Still not taking the label. Okay, we almost there. So we are saying take this template, okay, and the primary args. Let me just do button for my primary. Okay. I'm still not getting it to show, and I don't have an error or anything. Let me just make sure the label is going to be label. Okay. What am I? The props are going to be the arg. Good. And let's come back here. So I think here, sir, you see something wrong? We're not binding. Let's refresh. We still don't have a label. Button is the label. Show code. Well, it works on my other computer, which is like which is like the 500, like, you know, $500 excuse that every developer has. But let's just look at it. I mean, we are pretty close. So we have.
Do you have to put something in as a child of the button? So in between? Because I think labels just for ARIA, but it doesn't actually get a.
Yeah, so like, yeah, you're right. So here we have like the ng content. Actually, you're right. And that's why we don't need, what we want to do, actually, I think in here, we should be able, but yeah, I think you have the right call. That's what it is. Because we are using ng content to do the content projection. Okay. So let's refresh. Show code. Let me take this out. It's not going to interpolate in your template. Last but not least. Yeah, now we
Yeah,
see
it's something.
something coming. Yeah. So there you go. Canvas. Refresh. Are you kidding me? This was working without a problem. Show code. Is it? Okay. Right. Let me look at my template here. Actually, nothing looks different from the. Oh, okay. I see. So constant template. Okay, I got you. We just put the template into the. We put the template into the wrong place. Okay.
Oh, do we need to put the
Yeah.
template into the?
Into the actual templates down. So now let me take this out and let's come back to the component, and it should be a button component. Now here where we have the props,
Mm-hmm.
I believe is where we should put the template.
Okay, let's
Okay,
try that.
back and there. You see our label now.
There we go.
All right. So that's cool. And the first button that we had um in our FitMail dashboard is compose email with the plus sign. Okay. So then
Sounds like a good
here,
topic for next week. I have to hop off because
mhm.
my wife's got something that I need to take her
All
to.
right. Let's just keep it here. So next week we will go into like setting up the styles and everything like that, and we will be done with like all this madness and stuff. Everything else we will just like use it, things that are like pre-built to be used and everything like that. But yeah, I think it was a good push towards like the ultimate goal of having like one single source of truth. So thank you for your time, Ryan. Thank for everybody who was watching us, and we do this same time, same place, next week. Take care all.
You have a good. Bye.
Bye.